It's Saturday, and I was looking at a previous post. It appears that I'm getting longer each time. I just want to do one today. I think I mentioned earlier, I've been a news junkie since I was a newspaper boy in elementary school. But I do peruse the news every day and read a lot of it. And one of the things that has continually gotten worse is there's no give on any one side. And I was kind of reminded of a great Mose Allison song, the phenomenal jazz pianist, also blues pianist player. It's called "What's Your Movie?" And in the song he talks about how we run a movie in our heads, and we're basically the heroes. Nobody wants to be the villain, of course, and and even people who are villains see themselves as heroes, and not nobody, but many people want to be something other than what they are. And I think yesterday I was watching a couple of videos, pardon me, uh, whereby some demonstrators, and I won't get into what they were for, but they were up against each other, pushing and shoving, and one of them got his clock clean, knocked down very cleanly, and then others were making fighting motions and whatnot. And most people, uh, when they get into that situation, they're, of course, as I said earlier, they're really not listening to each other, and in their head, they're running and rerunning a film of how they're Captain Wonderful or whatever, and the other side is the worst thing that ever came down the pike, and so forth. So think about that. And the other thing I kind of wanted to get into is two of the worst things to ever happen to American political thought, or political thought period, has probably been television and the internet. And think about this. Since the advent of television and the first televised debates between Nixon and Kennedy, uh, there's never been an elected bald-headed president. And Gerald Ford doesn't count because he was appointed by Nixon to succeed Agnew, and then he became president when he succeeded Nixon when he left office, but he was not elected when he ran against Carter. So and we devolved into the soundbite thing, and there are some websites that do get into thought and so forth, but nearly all of them at one point or another, especially in the comments section, go into name calling and bumper sticker thought and so forth. Then you get into this thing called Twitter, which I don't do, but I do read some of them every once in a while, and that's primarily you know, people who think they're extremely witty. Uh, so we're kind of losing. It's all about our feelings as opposed to thinking, and you can have as I mentioned in an earlier video, you can have opposing viewpoints and debate those viewpoints, but when you have to go into you're this or you're that or whatever, then you're not really thinking, you're just demonizing. And demonizing makes us feel good, but in the long run doesn't get us anywhere, and really just leads in the end to a lot of bloodshed. And then we start rationalizing that and so forth. So think about what your movie is, and and try to look at the other side. The other side has a viewpoint, and I don't care if you're left wing or you call yourself a progressive, or if you're right wing and you call yourself a libertarian. Doesn't matter. There are other sides, and you need to discuss those things. And from the very founding of this country, people have been yelling and screaming. I know they say that's unusual, but we've been yelling and screaming at each other for the whole time frame. So think about what you're saying, why you're saying it, and then go back and look. We have newscasters that say ridiculous things, and they haven't really thought through what they're saying, and because somebody's handed them something to read. And we have politicians that do the same thing. The other day, there were people breaking down in tears over the death of our democracy. Well, one, as I've said before, we don't have a democracy. We have a federal republic. And the people that are in our parties and in our state capitals and our national capitals are representatives of the people. And they are supposed to be debating each other and coming to some conclusions. And it's always been ridiculous, but it's gotten more ridiculous as we've gone by. And sometimes you just have to put your feelings aside and debate. And that's where, well, we just need to do it. And we need to think, and we need to read, not go to Wikipedia, go to actual sources. Even the founder, one of the founders came out the other day and said that a lot of that's just been co-opted. So, what's your movie? What are you thinking? Do try to think and look and listen and believe, and there's a solution. And sometimes it's not your solution, and sometimes it's not all one way or the other way. You have to kind of come together, and that's what we don't seem to want to do. You have a good day.